Time for Twins Pod. It's gonna be a damn good show. Yeah.
That's a whole nother problem.
That's a whole nother
I want
problem.
to like the black community embraces her. Like the Jewish community, they own, like they gatekeep what comes out in the black community.
The culture, right?
Right?
I would agree.
Jewish people will not let Jewish sexy red come out and do music. They won't let that happen.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
But they'll let it happen in the black community.
Right.
And when we like talk about stuff like that, we're sellouts and coons. It's like
And anti-Semitic.
it go.
Don't forget that.
The hat trick.
Yeah,
right?
that's the first word they're gonna call you.
Yeah, and we say that, and it goes over their heads. It's like they're not grasping what we're saying.
Who is it? Black people?
Yeah, just like the black community.
No, see the black. No, they know. See, and that's the other thing. I sometimes feel bad for them.
Mm-hmm.
But I say this, and I'll say this about anybody, about any issue, whether you're in on it or ignorant, what the net result's still the same.
Mm-hmm.
So I can say that you've been miseducated, which black people have. Democrat ran Department of Education.
Right.
Post World War II, Democrat liberal philosophy, ideology been taught school-wide for 60 years since the Civil Rights Act. So I can say you've been miseducated, but at some point,
You got to figure out you being
at
played.
some point, you know.
Yeah.
And you like the benefit of acting stupid. Right?
Yeah.
I mean, there's a benefit to that's why they say ignorance is bliss.
Yeah.
Right.
There's a benefit. So I think a lot of black folks, I'm getting less lenient and more contemptuous with my approach to black folks. Like, no, y'all know what's going on.
Yeah.
Stop playing. Stop. I had a conversation, this was Super Bowl. And you know politics gonna come up. And I had to tell a young lady, I've been knowing her since she was real young. She's like family. I had to tell her, I said, we were talking about the school system. Right, you know, vouchers and school choice and all this stuff, and just how bad the schools are, classroom sizes and whatnot. And I say, how can anybody look at the condition of public schools in this country and not place the blame at the doorstep of the Democrats? They have been quantifiably in charge of our school system for 60 plus years.
Right.
So, you know, and white liberal women in Minnesota in the Minneapolis school district, you know, they're the majority of teachers. White liberal women across the country.
Right.
It's like 70% white liberal women. In Minneapolis, we have some of the worst proficiency ratings in the entire country. I think we're like second to last in proficiency in the Minneapolis school district.
Only Baltimore worse, huh?
And it's bad. It's bad like that in Minneapolis, which Minnesota is supposedly one of the best places you want to live to raise a family because the public school system's so good, just not where the black people live. And the white liberal women in the Minneapolis school district want more money. They already got a $2 billion budget. They want more money. So it's like, in what world?
Right.
Like, okay, if Donald Trump can't be allowed on television to say we need to close our border because it's so racist and xenophobic, it's going to spark violence all throughout the streets. There's nothing more dangerous to a community or to a country than people who are poorly educated, people who are stupid.
Yeah.
Right.
And y'all are in charge of it. You've been in charge of it. So how do we continue to let you work?
Right.
I mean, we should fire you, but the teachers' unions are too powerful.
Way too powerful.
You can't fire no teachers no more.
Yeah.
Right? So it's just like, okay, we need our own schools then. So when Trump says we busting up the Department of Education, I'm like, about time.
Right.
And all you black people should be rejoicing.
Right.
Yeah.
But finally, we get out of this cyclical Ferris wheel of stupidity. But they're so brainwashed,
Yeah.
you know, and that, you know.
I hate that whole thing about, I mean, I think black history is important, but even when we study black history and try to learn black history, they do more harm to black people than good. They're like just painting white people as these evil people.
Yeah.
And they're not focusing on what actual black excellence is.
Right. I mean, you know, well, yeah. White supremacy is another example. I said this is the contradiction of the female, let's say the black female ideology, but black men too. Since it's the black men I was talking about, cuckery is, you were saying black men as well, the black men that would oppose us following around these black women and they think they got to agree with them on politics or culture in order to get laid.
Right. Yeah.
That's corny.
That's
and
crazy.
I'm watching
That
these
is whack.
dudes. I'm watching these. I'm like, see, I never had that problem. So it's natural for me to ride. You know what I'm saying? I'm keeping it a buck.
Yeah. Right.
I never had that problem.
Yeah.
I was 6 I'm 6'8" with green eyes and a 36-inch waist. I'm 265 pounds.
Right.
When I walk in a room, I'm not going to agree with you on abortion to get laid. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
If I lined up 10 women around my age, or let's say 25 to 45, and I said, what things do you want in a man, and physical attributes? I'm going to hit in the list like ding, 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 ding.
Right.
So we're not playing any of this, you know, beta male simp stuff politically.
Right.
There's a lot of dudes who feel they need that.
Right.
And there's a lot of dudes who will do that. And
They have to do it.
I don't think they have to, but they certainly believe they do. They certainly doing it. I don't think they have to, but they think they do. But another good example is this. They talk so much about racism. And it's like neocolonialism and Eurocentric philosophy.
Yeah.
And then all of our cultural leaders defend the territorial integrity of modern day Europe. Our entire foreign policy is a defense of the European Union.
Yeah.
We're willing to go to a nuclear war with the Russians, who are really kind of considered outside the scope of whiteness.
Right.
Like, historically speaking, the Slavs are not considered white. They're not black, but they're like in between Asian and European, right? The Slavs are their own type of race almost. We're willing to go to nuclear war with a country that's not white by historical standards for the predominantly Eurocentric people. Right?
That's deep right there.
Ain't that crazy?
Yeah.
The entire foreign policy of America is predicated on protecting the territorial integrity of Europe. And you see all of these black women, pro-Kamala, who's pro-Ukraine, who's anti-Russia, who's pro-Davos, Switzerland. It's like, it don't get no more white than Davos, Switzerland. You feel me?
Right.
Like I don't even think they let you niggas hang in Davos, Switzerland.
Right.
The only niggas they let hang in Davos is like Obama,
Right.
who has a $20 million house in Martha's Vineyard. They don't let you niggas hang there either.
Yeah.
You know, I want on one of you black folks that love the Democrats, who live in Baltimore. Go ahead and get in your car, take a nice scenic drive up there to Martha's Vineyard, park one day and just hop out and walk around.
Yeah.
It won't be an hour go by before the police come and tell you, you don't belong here.
Right.
I don't know what you doing here. You came to see Obama. He don't want to talk to you. Right? I mean, this is the reality.
Yeah. You remember when he sent the legal immigrants up there?
What they do?
They didn't go within hours. They didn't even get off the bus. They said, turn around. But that's the most like liberal state. That's like one of the most liberal states in the country.
I'm telling you, this is black women though, and I because I come from black women, so I love them.
Yeah.
I just wish that we could get through to them somehow. And it's starting. Don't get me wrong. It's not all black women. Some black women catching on. There's a lot of black women stood up during this past election cycle who were saying it like, nah, this is bogus. We tired of this.
Yeah. What was it, like 6% of black women voted Republican, something like that?
See, I don't believe the numbers,
I
though.
think it was like 10%.
But let me, I will say this, though. I can't vouch for the numbers. Like, when I was growing up, I knew a lot of people in my family that didn't vote, but they being counted. Are they being counted?
Oh, I see.
So it's a situation where, let's say the vote, we know the voting's rigged. I mean, again, Amy Klobuchar on the record, she actually did a demonstration for a Senate committee of how the machines can be hacked.
Right.
During our race together, we did a debate, and she tried to come at me about being an election denier. And I said, once you on the record in front of a sitting committee saying that the Russians can hack our machines, hack the Dominion machines, and she got to twitching and fidgeting in her seat and shit.
Right.
So we know the elections got a problem with it. My thing is that the conservative movement has been okay with allowing the narrative to stand that black people are actually voting this way. Black people may actually be in an agreement culturally, politically with the establishment's narrative, but may not be in fact voting that way. So we don't know, because we don't know the count. So what I'm saying is a black woman could agree with Kamala Harris ideologically. That don't mean she went to that booth and voted. We assume because of what we see them say that they voted the way that they talk publicly. But I don't agree with that. I don't believe that. I don't know how black people are really voting in this country. It's hard for me to say, because I know a lot of black people don't vote.
Right.
But they're always counting them. And it's weird. Every election cycle, we're waiting for the votes to come in from the black neighborhood.
Yeah.
Right?
Why can't be,
We're
why
still
can't
waiting
they
for
be
a
the
lot
first?
of votes for, right?
Why can't they be the
It's
first?
like, we're all waiting on us. We're waiting for the votes to come in from this county here.
Right.
You know,
It
this
drives me crazy.
This
There's a
is
lot of black
Douglas
people there.
County.
You got to wait on the niggas to get that vote.
right. You know,
You know they don't know how to
you know
use
they
the
were
computer.
late to the polls, is
Yeah,
what they really saying,
Yeah,
right?
they late.
You know they was late to the polls. You know what I'm saying? So
We saw a huge Latino vote go right.
yeah.
They say 55%. That's what they say.
See, the Latinos is different because they come from a history and a culture where, you know, they know communism, they know socialism, they know totalitarianism.
Right.
You know,
Venezuela,
Cuba. Yeah,
Cuba,
come on, they ran from that.
Right.
That's another thing you ask Democrats and they can't answer. You say, if communism and socialism is so good, why are these people fleeing from countries that are socialist and communist? They don't have an answer.
Yeah.
Tim Waltz, he didn't have an answer. He's just like, socialism is neighborliness. It's
Yeah,
like,
I think that kind of hurts black people because they grew up in America. They don't know what communism is, even though it's
True.
right there in their face here in America. They have no idea what it is.
Yeah.
True. No, you can ask them, but you know, it's crazy how complex the history. Even I know how even Malcolm X got roped into that. Even he got roped into communism. You know, he was more favorable for communism, and at the time, you could say that the dichotomy politically worldwide was free market capitalism versus communism. That was kind of the face off. And black people and our black civil rights leaders saw communism in conjunction with a repudiation of capitalism, which was represented by white corporate, Wall Street sort of political power brokers, which was true at the time.
Right.
What they didn't see is that even at that time in the 60s, for example, even going back to World War II, Franklin Roosevelt, FDR, wasn't a staunch free market capitalist. He was more of a socialist than he was a nationalist or a capitalist, right? So the history of communism, the lineage of it goes way back and is on both sides of the aisle. But people like Malcolm X and those civil rights leaders in the 60s, they saw communism and socialism as a repudiation against
Capitalism.
And that's how they framed it, right? And there's a lot wrong with capitalism. At the highest level, I say this, and I said this on my show once, and people are like, what are you talking about? Like, just stay with me, bear with me. You know, at the highest level, there's no difference between communism and capitalism. At the highest level. And when I say the highest level, this is where the Republican Party scam gets as deep as it goes, right? Because communism, is an ideology. First of all, it's a European ideology. And so again, if you're pro-black and you're anti-Eurocentric, how you become a Marxist blows my mind.
Yeah.
You're following a white German philosopher. Okay.
Right.
So, don't get no more white than German.
Right.
Karl Marx is a German philosopher. You're following a German philosopher calling me a Nazi.
He was a German Jew, wasn't he?
He was a German Jew, that's right, who renounced his Jewish heritage, though. His father, he comes from his father, rabbinical line, and he renounced his father's religious.
So he wasn't so bad, huh?
Oh, Daddy Marx. Daddy Marx probably sitting there, son, you saying there's no God?
Yeah.
Because the Jews, the one thing about the religious Jews, they pray all day. Right. The Jewish tradition is like the real Orthodox Jewish tradition. They got merit to be saying the rest of y'all, y'all is sloughing on this faith stuff because they pray all day. They really live by it, and you can tell by the way they dress, right? And how they move. Not to say some of them ain't dressing and doing some other stuff, because they are. We saw some pedophiles get rounded up and they wearing the yarmulkes and the robes and everything. So there's some weird stuff going on. But anyway, Marx, his whole intention with Marxism was to reduce the human existence down to price. When you make everything about the have and the have-nots, the rich and the poor, what you're saying is everything is about money. First of all, there's nothing more evil than that.
Right.
To frame human existence as being a money-based thing.
Based on the value.
Right. And so his thing was if we can convince people that that the entire way they should evaluate their life is based on their material worth, you're reducing the human existence down to price.
Right.
Okay. Well, there's one group of people who believe in that, and they're more socialist based. They want to, have everybody on universal basic income or welfare, or there's this global welfare state brewing, right? There's another group of people who believe the same thing, and those would be called neocons. right? Because war is explicitly an industry where the unit of price is correlated to the human value, right? And so when you say, we're going to go to war, at unrestricted, unlimited war, and the people don't matter because there's a price that we have to meet. There's an inventory that we have to meet. There's a demand. There's a turnover. There's a munition to person correlation. On the budget sheet. All you're saying is the same thing Marx is, and that's why the neocons are Marxists and communists, and they don't even realize it. People think Bush was a conservative. He's a Marxist. Which is why it's not hard to see why he favors and leans towards the liberal establishment when shit gets sticky. Right? It's because underneath there, it's the same ideology. They just window dress it different. And for the Christians, they go, oh, well, we believe in God, though. And the abortion one is the one they go to most.
Right.
So, right, if we can get you to believe our stance on abortion, now we can properly frame the opposition and control the opposition. We're going to argue about, a young woman's. Right, and I'm not saying that's not an important issue because it is. Right? I've always said, like, the predicate to anti-human is no sanctity of life. So I agree with the abortion position at birth. They're going to say that I can't get elected because I'm saying that. But as a moral and ethical issue, I believe that. Now, as a legal issue, it's something different.
Right.
And in the conservative movement, you're almost not even supposed to say that.
Right.
See, because the way I think about it is, Christianity is supposed to be a voluntary submission to God. It's not supposed to be forced on you by the government. So our founding fathers were actually brilliant to make sure that the Christianity wasn't forced on its citizens by fiat.
Yeah, it's not a theocracy here. It's never been.
Right. So, but in the conservative and Christian movement, some people do.
They do.
Believe that it should be law. You should have to be Christian.
Yeah.
That's not a voluntary submission. You can't really love somebody or submit to somebody or respect somebody by force.
And then these pro-lifers, anti-abortion, they care about, a lot of times they care about more about the baby inside the womb instead of when you got kids out here dying every day.
Well, that's what I'm saying, right?
Yeah. The kids in Gaza.
There you go. You see what I'm saying?
They pro-life on abortion, but Gaza, no, they terrorists.
This is my point. This is the neocon. This is the neocon.
Right.
But see, they represent themselves as Christians. So if I say I believe in God and I say I support Israel, all of a sudden I'm Christian enough to be called a conservative when really my business practice is communist. Right?
Yep. Right.
And that's what we're dealing with. That's the American, problem right now is that both parties are captured by a radical materialist and sort of communist, proto-communist ideology.
Yeah.
Right.
I think a lot of times, like, being a black gay woman and you're a Marxist and you're a Democrat doesn't make any sense.
Right.
I don't think they realize what's going on. The game is being played, just like these Republicans who's pro-Israel. They don't realize the game that's being played on them.
I look at the aerial footage, drone footage of Gaza. That looks like a genocide to me.
There is no Gaza. Gaza's gone.
Right.
To be whatever is going to be renamed. It's no longer Gaza. There's nothing left.
Yeah.
Yeah, they did exactly what they said. They did what Nikki Haley's told them to do.
Right.
Yeah, they finished it. The only thing they didn't do was kill all. And you do gotta give some credit where credit is due. Israel has the arsenal to have. They could have killed all of those Palestinians. They could have.
Yeah, it's our money, our weapons, right?
They definitely could. Oh, for sure. Oh, we're paying for it. Yeah, no, and they could have killed all of them. They didn't. But what they did, in my opinion, is bad enough. Now, at the same time, again, the Palestinians. See, this is one of the highest levels of controlled opposition too. And I love when Bannon said, we're on every side of the trade. Somebody asked me, it was like, do you support funding for Israel? And I said, with conditions. And I said, but all of our foreign aid should be conditional.
Right. That's common sense.
That's common sense. And the condition should be we shouldn't be on every side of the war. Okay, if you want to support Israel and you want to say it's on a biblical basis, you better not let me catch you saying God isn't real. You better not let me catch you pushing this secular scientific revolution Darwin shit. Right? Because then we're not tied to them on a holy and biblical basis.
Right.
If we're going to fight a holy war against our religious enemies, then let that be it. But then you can't be giving money to our religious enemies too.
Right.
Who we do give money to.
Right.
The Saudis, the Yemenis, the Qataris, the Emiratis, the Egyptians, the Pakistanis. They're all getting a piece.
Right.
So it's like
What the hell is going on?
Well, I tell you, and I told Dan this when we were talking. See, he thinks that the Jewish power and sphere of influence is the highest sphere. Mm-hmm. The highest sphere of influence in society is always the people with the biggest guns. Mm-hmm. Always the people who you got to fear will actually come and kill you. Mm-hmm. And so that's where the conservative movement also has problems, because we have a natural affinity, affection for our military, mm-hmm. for our soldiers, for our servicemen and women, veterans, mm-hmm. right? Mm-hmm. But effectively,
Trump touts that a lot.
Every conservative does. Mm-hmm. You go to any conservative caucus, BPOU. I remember Tom Emmer came in. He comes into the Minnesota Republican Convention. He stands up. He's one of the first people to speak. And said, "Stand up if you served our country. And stand up if you support Israel. We will never abandon Israel." And the crowd goes, "Wow!" And I'm just sitting there in the back, like, wait till I get up here.
Yeah.
And I come up there and I'm like, globalism. And then the crowd goes wild again. And it's just they're pulling, pulling, that push and pull between, the controlled opposition Republican Party and the real, kind of MAGA base. But what I said was, you gotta, to Dan, was you gotta realize that America's zooming Israel. We're the ones using them. Mm-hmm. See, we think they're using us because they get to, beat their chest in the Middle East, and mm-hmm. they can bomb some Arabs who they, really don't have a lot of love for anyway. It's a mm-hmm. huge beef there. It's been going on
between Christianity and Muslims.
Yeah, it's been going on for 2,000 years, though. Mm-hmm. It goes all the way back to the first Roman-Jewish war, right? I mean, that beef in that part of the world has been going on.
Mm-hmm. So you think United States is using Israel to do that dirty work?
No. I don't think we give a shit what happens over there. No, seriously. Okay. No, what we're doing is we have created a reverse vassal empire. So the vassal state is, I'm a smaller country, I'm a smaller town kingdom, I'm going to pay you, the big kingdom, to come and protect me. Mm-hmm. What we do is we pay them to protect them. Mm-hmm. Now you ask yourself, what bodyguard would bodyguard for no money and then even pay to bodyguard? I'm going to pay you mm-hmm. to take a bullet for you. Mm-hmm. Right. That shit don't make no sense.
Right.
Unless you realize that the business model is, if we have enough reverse vassal states, we have an unlimited justification to print money mm-hmm. and steal it from our own taxpayers.
Mm-hmm. Well, I see.
Right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Anybody out there in the empire, the international rules-based order, the global NATO alliance, or the United Nations, or the G20, or whatever. Mm-hmm. It's all a justification for us to print money, mm-hmm. unlimited money, mm-hmm. put our people in unlimited debt, mm-hmm. and steal.
Yeah, we're here with Chris. He just won a Ram giveaways, 47 edition, turbo diesel.
Yeah.
If you're in it right now, go right over here. Yeah, keep walking. Said, follow me over here. Keep on walking. Look over there. Y'all know about the Raptor we giving away. It ain't nothing but a lifted Corvette, man. It handles like a Corvette, handles like a sports car. Yeah. That truck's crazy. But we got something else we want to show y'all. We also give away this Jeep Rubicon, 10 amp rated. Yeah, lifted. Yeah, fully loaded. And the reason why we do this, because y'all support us. So we're going to support you. Right now, we're giving you 10 times the interest. Spend $10, you get 100 interest. Spend 1,000, 10,000 interest. Go to officialhodgetwins.com. Anything you buy on our site, get you automatic. Entered to win all our giveaways. No purchase necessary. All where prohibited. See official rules for details. Yeah.